people, welcome to my channel again. And we are today with a very special guest. We are with the man behind the mastering process of some of the most amazing bands. Sonata Arctica, we have Battle Beast, Nightwish, Children of Bottom, and so on. So here is Mr. Mika Jussila. Nice to meet you, and thank you for being here with us.
Hey, nice to meet you, and my pleasure.
Thank you. Well, we have a lot of questions to do to you. The first one is, what is the first thing that comes to your mind when you think about your life? I mean, how did you come with this idea of mastering the universe?
Well, really complicated because I'm always going somehow with the stream and never done really long period plans or anything like that. That's just looking around the corner what's going to happen. And of course, I had all the school. I went through the school like we normally used to here and high school and everything. And after 12 years, started to think of what should I do when I grow old, and music has always been there in my life. My parents were not musicians, but they were record buyers, and we have lots of records at home. And my parents, they listen a lot of music, and my dad was a jazz digger, and my mother like country and western and all this kind of wide range. And I have also two elder brothers who like taught me more or less to rock and roll world, and we bought even records together, and we collect the money together and went to the record shop and so on. So music has always been there, but of course you have to go through the school, then thinking about what to do. The military here, okay, only it was 8 months, I think. Well, got it done. And then I played in some school bands, some cover bands, guitar and singing. That was fun also. I like that. And before I really knew what to do, I worked in a company called Agfa. And everybody knows Agfa for the films and cameras, but also professional studio tapes and all the other cassette tapes and so on. So I was like a delivery guy, driving with a van and throwing these studio tapes and films everywhere around the Helsinki area. And then I noticed that, okay, maybe every time I went with the package of tapes to the studio, I asked, do you think you could have something for me to do? And luckily, maybe after 3-4 months being at Finnvox door once in a week, I asked again that is there anything for me? And I think that they somehow got bored to me that, okay, we can't get rid of that guy if you don't give him something. And they dropped me straight into the vinyl cutting room. So I started my mastering career from the day one. And this happened almost 40 years ago. It was 29th of October, 84. So I have always said that the mastering chose me. I didn't choose mastering.
Yeah, so you have been working a lot through all these years, and I mean, I know that you might have some stories and memories across all of these years. But what do you think is the most valuable thing about your job?
Of course, I'm working with I'm part of the Finnish music culture, not business. I've always tried to underline that I like to think this is like art and culture, not so much business. Of course, there's a little bit business have to be there because you have to earn money, you have to feed your family, but still, that's what I'm lucky. I'm a handcraft man also, And but if I think about back in my the whole career, maybe there are a couple of big turning points, and the first one was when we changed from vinyl to CD. And when we started CD mastering back in Finland here, so at Finvox we were the first ones to start, and we could do CD mastering many years before there was any competition and other mastering studios came. So we got huge work, unbelievable amount of work. So we could do so much CD mastering per day as we just, kept us awake. So that was hard, but that was funny, and a lot of different kind of genres of music, from children music to jazz, from classical to rock, pop, and so on. But then the second really big turning point was when the Finnish first this big metal era started in the late 90s, and I think there was a couple of bands individually went to the Europe first, let's say, conquered the Europe and so on. There was Stratovarius, Amorphis, Valtari, Sentenced, maybe these bands first. And then when Spine Farm label started, that was a huge, because they like started release a lot of bands. They signed a lot of bands, and they were quite green in the business, that they didn't know how to deal with all these releases. So first they contact to Finvox and we need help for mixing, recording and mixing and mastering. And then they contacted more or less Mikko Karmila and me. So Mikko started to do a lot of heavy metal mixing, and I did all the masterings. So that was a big thing. And among the first ones, I think Spine Farm signed Nightwish, the Children of Bodom, and Sonata Arctica. They were among the first. So quite a nice start for the metal era in Finland, I think. But we already had the, like I said, Stratovarius and Sentenced, Amorphis, maybe Apocalyptica also. They started quite early and so on. The Spine Farm was a big deal.
Yeah, and there is a lot of speculation about this job. I mean, I always read so many comments when an album comes out. I mean, I cannot hear the drums. The sound of this album is awful, and many, many more. What do you have to say about these comments? Because it must be annoying to read these kind of words in your social media every time that an album comes out, or a live album, or a live DVD, Blu-ray.
Yeah. And I know exactly what you mean. But the thing is that, first of all, if we think about mastering, you can't judge mastering without comparing the mix file and the mastered file. So you don't, by listening to records, you don't know what has happened in mastering stage, what has happened in the mixing stage, and what kind of errors are there already because of bad recording or something like this. So it's not possible to judge individually mastering or mixing without knowing what has happened in the background. That's the first thing. Is it annoying to read all these comments? I don't care. I don't give a fuck. Because it's always easy to say, for example, okay, I know exactly what you are heading for with this question, because all this discussion about the new Nightwish single and how the floor is so you can hear the lyrics and so.
Yeah, and not only the new Nightwish single, but I remember with the Vehicle of Spirit, the live DVD Blu-ray, when Shatter Before the Beautiful came out, it was, I don't know, I've seen a lot of comments. It was a total discussion about this topic. And you were there just answering all these questions. And I remember thinking, this must be very annoying.
Yeah. For example, now with the new Nightwish thing, so there are a couple of, for example, my own posts in Facebook, and started to explain people how we think about it, how we thought about the whole thing. And in some point, I noticed that this is pointless because haters hate, lovers love, whatever you do. So that doesn't change anything. Some other posts I posted, I just made the decision that whatever discussion the people have there, I won't comment anything. I just don't say anything because it's just pointless trying to explain, and especially in internet. In face to face, it's maybe much more easier, but still. But the main point is that, for example, in Nightwish and in every project I have worked with, over 6,000 albums, there has always been a production team. There's no such a thing that I could do all the decisions. So, for example, we haven't released any of Nightwish stuff without all involved has approved everything. And I have had such a lovely message from James Sherman, who was the conductor of the orchestra at Abbey Road. That fantastic mix, I just love it. Also, the recording engineer of Abbey Road, and all the associations here at Finland. Everybody thinks it's just beautiful and wonderful. The whole sound, the mix, the production. So you can't just say that mastering has ruined it or mixing has ruined it. If someone thinks that we have ruined it, then don't listen to it. Find some other music. But we haven't ruined anything because we have together decided that this is it. This is what we want. And especially if we think about Tuomas Holopainen, who is actually the main producer, he has everything in his head. So if something in the production happens that he is not happy, it's not possible to release it because we do it as long as he is happy. So that is, I think, the main answer of all these comments. That first of all, I don't care. I don't give a fuck what people think because there are 1 million people who knows how to do it better, but they don't know why we have made the decisions that we have made, and it sounds now like it sounds, and that's exactly what we wanted it to be.
Now, let's talk a little bit about your experience with Nightwish. I mean, do you remember the first time that you've worked with them?
Oh yeah, that was weird. Yeah, it was actually also, it was June, maybe 20th or something. I have the date somewhere, of course, but 1997. So almost 30 years ago. And they came to master the first, not for the first, maybe the second demo, I think it was. I'm not really sure, but there came 3 really, really shy men from Kite, Eastern Finland, to Helsinki to do mastering with me, Tuomas, Emppu, and Jukka. And short hair guys, looking like schoolboys. No one talked, nothing. And they were just sitting behind me. I did my job and give the demo ready mastered to them. And at the same day, they went to Spine Farm to sign the contract of the record. Of course, they had already made all the deal was ready, but they had to sign it. So they, with this demo, they went to the record company and signed the deal, and that was the first version of Angels Fall first album. So that's how we started. And the second album, Ocean Born, they already recorded drums at Finvox and so on. So that's how it started.
Okay, and how would you describe your relationship with the band? I mean, do you have something to say about each member of the band?
Well, not only Nightwish, but I have to remember that my philosophy of working is quite much the way that you have to treat everyone with the same respect, and even it doesn't matter if it's a youngster starting and making the first demo, or is it an experienced band making the 8th album. I try to serve everybody as well as I can. So that's how I get like more continuity to my work, because I know if I treat people well, they will come back. That's the philosophy how I work. So so that's what happened with Nightwish. They came back because they just knew who was the nice guy helping them in the first place when they didn't know much about anything. And maybe I give some hints, and of course I did the mastering well and they liked it, so it's easy to come back and start working again, and that has happened till today. And during these years, of course, we have kept in touch more and more, and seen each other more and more, not only when we are working but also like holiday season and so on. Actually, I spend my summers really close to Tuomas, where Tuomas lives. It's only 18 kilometers, so we see each other in the summertime, have a lunch and coffee together and so on. So, and also with the other bands, I made good friends with the people that I work a lot, many albums. So I try to keep them also like they are my friends. I will treat them like my friends, not only customers or clients. Someone might say that that's not a good way, working with the friends, but I think when we are doing this artistic kind of thing and art and cultural thing, so it's really fine to work with your friends. And actually nowadays I'm working with my own son here at Finvox, because he's doing also mastering. So that I think I can only say that life is beautiful and it's smiling for me.
And it's a total experience. I mean, to work with your own son. So
Oh yeah,
it's a total experience. Do you have any Nightwish album? I mean, any favorite album of them?
Yeah, actually yes, because there are also quite few turning points in their career, and but I remember quite well when we were working with Once album. Then I realized, even when they started recording and mixing, I noticed that now something big is happening. Now they took a huge step onward. Not only but with the songs or lyrics or anything, but the whole production, the whole big London orchestra and huge budget, and somehow I still think that because of that memory, I think the Once is maybe the most remarkable album for me too. Because we also in mastering stage, we took a huge step how to do mastering, and we develop actually the mastering process as the same that we are even using nowadays. And shortly, it means that when they started mixing, and even though when they didn't even have the first song ready, I already started the mastering stage at the same time. So I did mastering and they did mixing simultaneously at the same time. And every time they got a new song ready, they sent it to me, and I will did the test master, different kind of sample masterings, and we were like trying to find the right sound already in the mixing stage, because sometimes they noticed after my sample mastering that okay, now in mastering it don't happen the things that we are expecting, or vice versa. Also they noticed that okay, now there's happening much more that we were expecting. So it's easy to go back to the mixing stage and maybe change something already there to help me to do better mastering. So that's how we have worked even through the years, and the same way as we did the last album.
Yeah.
And now I have to say that is possible because of the big budget and so on. So
yeah.
I think I did about 50-60 hours mastering for the new album. and excluding Atmos mastering, because Niklas, my son, took care of the Atmos version. So that was a different, and I think maybe almost 100 hours mastering stage for the new album and with all the versions.
That's a lot of time.
That's a lot of time. That if I normally think that I will do any other band, I will do mastering about 7, 8 to 10 hours and it's ready. So now we spent 100 hours.
Now,
and still some people are complaining, yeah, no, bad mix and bad mastering, they ruined everything, they don't know how to do it.
and that discussion, it's never ending. It's never ending discussion. Now, the entire world is excited about this new release called YESTERWYNDE, which is coming on September 20th. We know the track list. We have seen the cover of the album. We heard the first single called Perfume of the Timeless. Now, what can you say about this new musical adventure? I mean, talking about the production, the sound, the lyrics of the songs, what can we expect from Nightwish this time?
Well, I don't know what to say. I don't know what can I say, and I don't know what I want to say, because it's always the best thing is for the listener is making the first impression by themselves and not have so much expectations before. Well, anyway, I mentioned once album already, one of my favorites, and if I think about now back to the whole catalog, I think this new album is closer to Once album than any other albums. We have also had this discussion with Tuomas and the rest of the band that people are expecting that, is it heavy? Because that album was not so heavy, and now we want a heavier album. And Tuomas said to me that I never really understood this this discussion, because all our albums are quite heavy. Of course, there are mellow parts, but there are really heavy parts in every album. So every album you can find the heavy elements. So and people are even had said that, for example, Dark Passion Play, that well, it was not so heavy anymore compared to the Oceanborn or Wishmaster. And Tuomas said to me that he thinks that Dark Passion Play is the heaviest album of Nightwish. I think he thinks a little bit different way. It's not only a sound or a track, but somehow the wholeness of the album is really heavy. The lyrics and the stories and everything behind the stories, because Tarja left and Annette came in with some bad vibes and making music from the bad vibe. So he thinks that's a really heavy album. But anyway, back to the YESTERWYNDE. So I think it's quite close to Once album. I said Tuomas before, I heard from other people's mouth also the same, that it's quite progressive, even long tracks, many parts inside one track, really heavy parts, and the themes, they are quite much the way that Tuomas already explained in this first making of. He was talking about this nature and evolution. The same theme is going on all the time, and somehow the gratefulness of life and being alive, that's something that you can hear from the album. Great stories, I think, but maybe the main questions people think, is it heavy enough? I think it's quite heavy album. Progressive heavy metal. Okay. Symphonic progressive heavy metal.
Okay, that's good. Do you have any favorite song from this record? I mean, have you felt touched by any of them?
Actually, not yet, because it's so close still. Because I was quite closely also involved with the Atmos mastering, and we just last Monday we had the final tweak. So we have worked with the whole 5 months with the mastering, and so it's too close still, and there are many tracks that I love a lot. Actually, I can say that I love the whole album. It's not maybe any secret that the first track is more or less like an intro, and the last track is a little bit like an outro. Still individually fantastic tracks, but everything in the middle, that's just progressive heavy metal, and I like all of them.
Okay. There's another question that I have in mind now. Are there any surprises in this album? I mean, I remember with Endless Forms, Most Beautiful, it was Greatest Show on Earth, like the precious jewel of the album. In Human Nature, we had Shoemaker as the tricky one. Is there any surprise on this album? I mean, some song that has the same potential.
I think that's something that when you are a listener, you have to decide it by yourself. It's really hard for me to say. There are mellow parts, of course, even inside the songs, and couple of songs are not so heavy, but mainly it's quite long progressive tracks with really heavy stamp on it. But surprises, I think it's really hard, to analyze Nightwish albums, and I think it's or even unfair people compare the new albums or albums with Floor to albums, for example, with Tarja, because that totally different era, totally different kind of music. Now from the Once album on, the big orchestra has played a big role, and the whole scenery is so much more massive than, for example, in Oceanborn or even in Century Child album. So it's still definitely a Nightwish album. If you are a Nightwish fan, you are going to love this album. I can guarantee it. It's absolutely fantastic. And even I, that have been working with the band through the whole career of the band, as long as they have been around, so I still, my mind is blown out. I can't understand the genius of Tuomas Holopainen. How the hell he can make music like that? And it's not only that he composed some melody lines or something, but he composed everything. He composes the band, he makes the riffs, he composes the orchestra, and that's why when you are listening the orchestral version of the album, it's as fantastic as the band version, because the music is so, it's unbelievable. And he's my friend, and I know him as a character, how he is in his normal life. That long hair, shy, introvert guy, liking normal things like with normal things do, and still inside there lives this some kind of musical genius. Wow. It's blowing my brains out.
It's a lot of information, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean,
and it's really also weird how easy for him is to create all this stuff, because sometimes I've noticed several times that everything happens inside his head. He had the ready album inside his head, so the work we have to do is just helping him to get it out there as he wants it to be, for us others to hear and listen.
Okay, now there is a technical question. I've been watching all the versions of this album, and I saw there is a song without the full orchestra, and that song is Hiraed.
Yeah,
Is it true?
Yeah, one song without the orchestra. That is true. Yes, it's
Okay.
that is the mellow one, so called. If you mentioned the Shoemaker, maybe that's the Shoemaker of Yesterwinde album.
You said that Once is one of the most similar one to this album. Do you remember if there's any other album which is very similar to this one?
Of course, because of the big orchestra thing, I think also Imaginarium goes quite closely, because maybe not the same kind of type of themes, but still, I think in this album there is, well, it's, I don't know if I even should try to analyze the stories behind this, because I'm still a mastering engineer. I don't know about the stories behind all the songs, but I just telling you what I heard people talking, and what they have probably told to me. But yeah, similarities to Imaginarium, to all albums actually. It's really hard to say, because in every album there are tracks that I can compare to these new tracks. For example, Poet and the Pendulum is quite close to the stuff that we have in the new album. But I think it's better to leave all the listeners to make the expression by themselves, how they think, because I think the first listen is maybe the best what you can imagine, and I can even imagine the goosebumps people are going through and everything,
Yeah.
listening the first time. And there are so much layers. That's one thing, like I said, so much layers that it won't open to you at the first listening. You have to listen it several times, and you will find all the time. Even when we were doing the mastering and the Atmos mastering with Niklas, my son, so we were talking about this together, that it's really weird that we have heard this album tens and tens and tens, maybe hundreds of times, and every time we find out something new. Haven't you realized that, how the oboe goes there, and how Empo is playing that riff there? That's remarkable. Tens and tens and tens of listening, and every time something new.
I can agree with you. I mean, when you say Imaginarium is one of the most similar albums to this one, because I remember when I heard Perfume of the Timeless for the first time. I remember when I was listening to the intro part, when I was listening to the entire song. It reminded me songs like, I don't know, Scared Tell for moments. For example, I don't know, Last Ride of the Day for a couple of seconds, and Story Time maybe. I mean, talking about the orchestra arrangements.
Yeah, maybe, but I can say also that if I compare it to the ones, I maybe meant more like not the songs. I think the songs are more complicated in the new one than in on one's album. It was quite basic, heavy kind of songs, and this is more progressive. And if I don't know what I even meant. Was it the, like, sound wise, or there's some kind of vibe is the same like it was in one's album, but the Imaginarium is really close to this new one. How Thomas is telling the stories, and how there are different parts in different songs, and how the feeling is growing and going down in different, really hard to explain.
Okay.
That is something that the only way that you can measure it's your smile in your face, and your goosebumps, and that's the only meter to measure this.
I have a final question, and I think that this is the most important one. For example, the Dolby Atmos version, and that it sounds a little bit different. What is that difference?
First of all, there will be, as I think all already guessed, that there will be the normal album instrumental version, and then orchestra version. And from normal album and orchestral versions, there are going to be Atmos versions too. So Atmos versions in both orchestral and normal album, it's a different mix. It's based on the same mix that Mikko Karmila, Tero Kinnunen did for the stereo version, but Risto Hemmi, our special Atmos mixing engineer, he did completely new mix, because in Atmos version there has been used much more this immersive sound, center speaker, back speakers, stereo wide speakers, even the roof. And so that gives the mixing engineer much more like tools to handle the big orchestra, the choirs and everything. So it's more separative. You can hear more instruments, the more small details, much more easier in Atmos version. And that's why also the mastering had to be done a little bit different way, or think a little bit differently, because it's a totally different mix. Still, the songs are exactly the same. The overall sound, if you compared, AB to stereo, it's close enough, let's say. But because of this immersive and the spread sound, it's a bit different mix, and that's how it makes a little bit different also. But it's also a matter of taste. All people don't like this immersive. They don't like 5.1, and they prefer stereo version. But I still think whatever you are choosing, they are all excellent. This orchestral Atmos version, that's fantastic, because it sounds really like you are inside the orchestra, or you are sitting in the front row in an orchestral live situation where they play the songs. Absolutely fantastic sounding.
I want to say thank you for being here with me, sharing this little space.
My pleasure.
I know that it's hard to talk about a new album without spoiling very much, because it's a little bit tricky to talk about it without giving much details about this.
But maybe we can have another session when the album has come out.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I know that there must be a lot of secrets behind all of this. Well, so
I would love to. I would love to talk to more of the new album, but maybe we can have a new session in September, October, and let's go through the song by song or something like that then.
Yeah, for sure. This is the end of this interview. So thank you again, and well, I hope to see you very soon.
It's nice to hear you, and hopefully to see you. Well, you're always welcome to Finland, and always welcome to Finvox.
Thank you very much. See you next time.
Thanks, Ed.